It's a live stream. It's a live stream. It's a special live stream uh, that I talk about stuffs with the live stream, and more specifically with this live stream, I would like to talk about my deconstruction story. It's something I've been meaning to make a video on for a while. I've just been putting it off because there's a lot there. It's a deconstruction story. There's a lot there. I don't even know how much there would be there. Maybe this will just end up being like a 20-minute live. But I just put it off because I've been wanting to do it for like the whole 2 years that I've been doing this content, but just been putting it off. But then I got the idea of, why don't I just do it on a live stream? Because it's already, you already go live for an hour, and then it posts afterwards, and chat can engage and ask questions. I'm going to try not to get too sidetracked by chat in this one as I do with some others, just so I can get through, my story. Obviously, I'll answer any questions, but a lot of these live streams, I just kind of jump in and maybe read some comments or um, interact with chat or something like that. But this one, I have a set topic, and gonna leave it up as a video, so kind of just want it to be it. Kind of just want it to be it. I have Smokey here for emotional support. I don't know if you can see her ears or her tail. There's the people. There's the people. You're gonna get me views because everyone loves cats. Alright, so, my story. I was raised Catholic. My entire life went to Catholic school, K through 12th grade, so that is the main denomination that I'm coming from. Just to kind of put things into perspective. And my family wasn't strict. They were Christian, but it wasn't really. If we missed a mass here and there, it wasn't the end of the world, or especially if we got older. As we got older, my sister and I didn't want to go to mass as much, so we didn't go as much. They weren't strict, but did want us to be Christian, did want us to follow Christ, did want us to follow the rules of religion. But the big driving thing for me was, somewhere along the line, I believed that I developed a relationship with this God, just through different. I'm not really sure when it started, if I'm going to be completely honest with you. Just at some point, just through experiences and feelings and things of the sort, I felt I had a good relationship with this God, and I dedicated myself. Stop talking like that. Do I need to talk in a different way? Dedicated to this God, and I wanted to follow this God. I wanted to lead my life, live my life in a way that corresponded with this God, especially because I've mentioned in previous videos how there's a lot of trauma and stuff in my past, and a lot of that is not because of the church. So I talk about a lot of trauma, and yes, obviously there's some church stuff mixed in there, but most of it's not. In fact, it was my relationship with this being, with this God, or what I perceived to be a relationship with this God, that helped me through a lot of the traumatic, a lot of the hard times that I went through, a lot of the issues that I went to. And it was just nice. Believing that I had someone looking out for me, that cared for me, that was the divine author of everything. It's not a bad friend to have in your corner. And so I believed, I attributed any success, any ability to keep moving, any thing that stopped me from taking my life, I attributed to him. And I just, mixed with other trauma, just grew up thinking that I was worthless. And I'm sure Catholic teaching didn't help with that. because it kind of teaches, a lot of Christian teachings kind of does teach that you're worthless. Um, but I did come to this conclusion that I was worthless. I was nothing, that I was just a problem. And yet I also have this amazing God looking out for me. How nice and selfless and loving must this God be to take care of, to put up with someone like me? So just over time, just more of that, I guess you could call it, relationship built, and my devotion to this being built. And it was to the point where there was a kitty in my book cabinet. Thank you. Sorry. It got to the point where I would pray throughout the day, asking for help and guidance, apologizing if I ever messed up, even like little things. I was a little, my anxiety kind of bumped it up a little bit towards like every little thing was like hyper focused on like, oh my God, am I being good enough for God, you know? Uh, so that didn't help. Had a lot of anxiety and stress about even like numbers, like, oh no, the radio, the volume on the radio is 6. That's demons. That's Satan's number. And let's turn it to 7. I'm sorry, God. You know, just even little things like that. I was very, very uh, anal about it, I guess you could say. Which that was mostly just my anxiety and my ADHD churning the wheels. Hyper fixated, I guess you could say, on this God in my relationship, and avoiding demons, because I was also taught that, you know, mental health issues, anything negative, anything, you know, bad, was demons attacking me. And I also felt like I had a good connection with energies, and I could feel dark energies when they were present, when they were attacking me, things like that. So there was just a lot there. So I would always pray throughout the day, making sure my steps aligned with God. Any mess up, I would give an apology. Anything that worked out for me, I gave thanks to God. Um, you know, even the prayer before meals, I prayed in the morning when I got up. Prayed often an hour or more every single night before I went to bed. I even had a note on my door because I got tired of my parents walking in um, when I was praying, which there are worse things that your parents could walk in on a teenager doing. Sorry, I had to slide that joke in there. But I got tired of them walking into something like, I have this note. I have God time. I would like you to respect my God time. So would pray, read the Bible, not really coherently, just like kind of like verses. I didn't really get a coherent read through of the Bible until later in life. Um, little hello, uh, verse by verse, you know, and even pray the rosary, which, if you don't know, just a quick thing, it was Catholic upbringing, so we did pray to Mary and we did pray to the saints. It wasn't about worshiping Mary or the saints. It was about mostly asking for their prayers. That's where it comes in. So it's asking for them to pray for us, because it's this idea in Catholicism, and yes, I realize it sounds ridiculous now, that if you pray to there's a patron saint of, I don't know, driving, throwing something random out. Patron saint of driving. You can pray to that saint that you'll have good driving, and then that saint will pray for you that you have good driving. And it's like it's a special category, and you can pray to like Father Capon if you want someone to be miraculously healed or have quick recovery, and he'll pray on your behalf for God and all that stuff. I don't believe in any of that anymore, obviously. I don't believe in anything supernatural these days, but that's how it was. And praying the rosary, praying to Mary, the idea was this is God's mother. Not an authority figure over him, but someone that he holds a great deal of respect towards. Um, and so if she can pray for you, then you might have a better chance of like getting your prayers answered. I don't agree with it. I know hindsight's 2020. You know, it made sense back then. Okay, when you're raised on it for the first 20 years of your life, it makes sense. I promise you. So would even pray the rosary, which is a lengthy prayer, prayer before meals, all that stuff, and yeah, just devotion, just dedicated. The going to mass, I don't know. Went to mass most of the time, especially when I was younger. with my parents when they went. They would usually take me most weekends. Um, and then as we got older, we kind of weaned off of it. Me and my sister stopped going as much. My parents stopped going as much. And then I got to high school. Well, in middle school, had like a mass or two a week that we would go to. And then high school was kind of the same thing. And there were like some optional masses. Sometimes I would go there, or I would just take the study hall to do homework, or just read the Bible, uh, go sit in the chapel. Even when I was in college, I would stop by my church on my way home and just sit in the church silently and pray and whatever else. Um, just little things. It was I, especially as I got older, I stopped focusing so much on the traditions, on the I didn't value the hour of going through the motions, even though I went through the motions with all my heart at mass. I didn't value that as much as me quietly coming in by myself when nobody else is around, and praying to God by myself. Having that personal time. It was more. I did focus more on the relationship than I did the religion, because I know a lot of people criticize atheists. You didn't have a relationship with God. It was all about religion and rules. No, I focused more, especially as I got older, on the relationship, not so much the strict rules. And I I got to a point where there was one night where I felt, uh, I guess you could call it divinely inspired, was my best interpretation at the time of the feeling, to write a poem. Really, I just like writing, and I get inspired to write. I'm a writer, love it. It's great. Don't do it as much these days, which is sad because I don't have as much time, but that's just me. Um, and so I wrote out a poem, about God and whatnots. And I prayed to God. I'm saying, well, right, now what? What do you want me to do with this? And I kid you not, I looked out my window and I saw a post-it note package on the ground. Literally just a sign that said post-it. So I was like, good enough for me. So I posted it to my personal Facebook, and that began me publicly speaking about religion, even though it was still my private Facebook friends. That began my public speaking out about religion in defense of Christianity at the time. I think specifically, sometimes it kind of blended between Catholicism and just like Christianity in general, but it came from a Catholic perspective at first, and people liked it. Friends, family of friends. Um, I even had a public page that I posted my writings on, not for religious stuff, but religious stuff kind of bled in because it was my writings, and I had a lot of inspiration from religion and God and whatnot. Um, and I had a lot of conversations with a lot of people, not all of them that I knew, about faith, about faith in God, and even helped a good amount of people strengthen their faith and keep their faith, which I kind of regret these days. But I try to listen to my friend in this, because I brought this up in a post a little while back, and one of my friends is like, those people who were struggling with their faith may have just needed help with their faith. They may not, just mentally, they may not have needed, oh yeah, faith is dumb, and like just keep kicking them down, because it's a very touchy subject when you're struggling with your faith. Um, and it may very well have been that it would have been better for their mental health and psychological health to stay in the faith at that point in time. Uh, so I'm going with that story. I'd like to believe that I didn't just. I would like to believe that there weren't people finding their way out of Christianity, and that I didn't just push them back in. I would like to have some kind of pretty spin on it, but that might not be the reality of the situation. But I spoke out, and I wrote a lot about Christianity, about God and whatnot. And a lot of people liked it. A lot of people even thought that I was being called to become a priest. There were some family members who tried to break me and my wife, my girlfriend at the time, up, because they're like, are you sure he's not being called to become a priest? He seems to have a good relationship with God. He seems to be connected. I mean, I need to share with you some of the posts that I used to make, in case anyone doubts that I had a connection, because so many people read that and like, you have a connection with God, you're being divinely inspired, all that stuff. So they were even saying like, that I might be being called to become a priest. So this is the level that I was at. I never studied for the missionary, never, for the missionary, right? Ministry. When you try to become a priest or a deacon or a pastor or anything. Am I saying wrong words? I don't know. Someone will correct me if I'm wrong. I didn't ever like try to become a priest or anything, because I from a young age wanted wife, family. I just didn't really see myself as a priest. And so, it just was whatever. But I did want to be an apologist of sorts. I wanted to speak out and spread God's light, love, and message, and continue to work in defense of ministry. I think that's the right word. In defense of God. And when I got to, it was like sophomore or junior year in high school. I don't really remember when. I took a Christian apologetics class. It was called Faith and Reason. And if you don't know, Christian apologetics is defending the faith, debate stage, stuff like that. And in this class, I realized, even in like the crash course, super Catholic bias, not quite representing equal sides of the debate stage class, even just that, I realized that I was not prepared for the task of defending the faith, of defending God. If I went up against, on a debate stage or anything against an atheist, I would lose. And then that's just not going to look good for God. That's not going to look good for Christians. That's not going to look good for anyone. I'd be like, some of the Christians in my comment sections, I'm sorry, they exist, that just say the dumbest things and think that it's profound, So I didn't want that. I wanted to actually defend Christianity. So I'm like, all right, let's take this a little bit more seriously. And so I did start diving into my studies at that point a little bit deeper, studying scripture a little bit more, church history, arguments. I mostly focused on arguments for and against the existence of a God, and arguments over certain Bible passages, and just things like that. Like, what do you typically see on a debate stage, which does involve scripture and church history and stuff like that. Arguments for or against the existence of God, scientific explanations for things, which I desperately needed, because I distinctly remember. Here's a dumb story. Here's a dumb Drew story. There's so many of them, but here's one. So, dumb kid Drew was like, how did God make trees? Did he just like make them, or was it like he took like a blade of grass and planted? Was there like more to it? Because you had the Bible, but then you had like extra biblical stories of like heaven and hell and the saints, or like stories that they took from the Bible and kind of stretched a little bit, like Lucifer's rebellion. They stretched it a little bit more outside the Bible, or Dante's Inferno, stuff like that. It's based on stuff in it, but like not specifically. So I lost my train of thought immediately. Hold on, I gotta mute someone. I use permission. What was I saying? You succeeded. You derailed the train. What was I talking about? Stupid Drew story. So I looked it up. I Googled it, because like Google has the answers, right? So like I Googled it, and I was just scrolling through what I now understand to be more complicated scientific explanations on how trees evolved on this planet. I was looking for like when God planted the grass or whatever that make the tree or something. Like I was looking for something like that, and I literally got to the point where it's like, all right, well, Google has its head up its ass and like doesn't understand what I'm asking, and I got frustrated. I was getting the answer that I then, upon studying science, I'm like, oh, that's what the answer was. So dumb Drew story. I actually like didn't trust Google. Not that you should trust Google completely, but like I didn't trust Google at all for a while. Like I that formed a belief for a while that like um, uh, that Google just wasn't reliable. That like like you ask it something, it's just not going to give you an answer, which isn't necessarily the truth. But just a fun dumb truth. So science very important, as well as some studies on other religions, and I talk about this as like my dive into it, and then there's a separate deep dive when I started making public content a couple years ago online when I posted my first thing on TikTok. Um, when I really dove deeper, and got a fresh read of the Bible, read the Quran, all those, tried to read all the holy books that I could. I haven't gotten to all of them yet, but really deep diving and studying. But at this point, it was a deeper study of um, of the topic, and even that psychosis, um, and even that raised some questions. Take a deep breath real quick. Absolutely not. Yeah, rambling about religion, crossing up all your thoughts. Get help, buddy. Yeah, that's what I do in every single one of my videos. Welcome. um, if I say something, can you repeat it? No. I don't think I'm doing well up in the dome. I'm not. I was just talking about my trauma 2 seconds ago. Not 2 seconds, a couple minutes ago. Um, but yeah, and it was diving in to this, and especially it really didn't make much headway until I was out of high school, and I went to just a community college, and got out of kind of like that Catholic bubble out into the real world. I got a job, um, and got to experience the real world a little bit more, and wasn't going to school every day to where I was constantly being taught in religion classes that you need to believe this and that or this and that. But it was really when that happened that I was taking a closer look, comparing scriptures, what Jesus was saying, all that, to Catholicism. And I'm like, Catholicism ain't it. It's not a very good representation of Christianity. Which is why I always hesitate when I say I was raised Catholic, because people are like, oh, that's why you lost your faith, because it's Catholicism, because all the denominations hate Catholicism. It's like, I agree with you, it's not great, but I got there, all right? Before I left Christianity, I got there. Um, so, I at that point, switched my posts on my Facebook to just more denominational Christian, non-denominational Christian, and even speaking out against Catholicism to an extent, um, and just rode that for a while. And then I studied Scripture a little bit more, and this is all uh, what I had gone through up until I started my studying was like the first like 18 years of my life. This is like the last 5, so a little bit shorter, a little bit chopped up, and I'll explain some of like the in-betweens here in a second. But then started studying Scripture a little bit more, and I'm just like, you know what, Christianity ain't it, because I thought I had this connection with a God that is loving and kind and gentle and understanding, not one that drowns everyone in a flood, or smites. It's the God of the Bible is just violent and it's awful, and it's like this isn't the one true God of love or whatever. So I just became a theist. I dropped Christianity and became a theist, still speaking out on Facebook, now with my own God, that I essentially made up based on the Christian God, uh, I realized later on, um, which is basically my own God, defending this God of love and how religion is terrible. And it's religion. Religion is the thing that's been turning this God into all these different ways and all these different bad things. Then I started around in there. I really wanted to start listening to opposing views a lot deeper. Like, I somehow ended up being friends on Facebook with this dude who ran a page. I'm not going to say the name of the page, but ran a certain page where he shat on Christianity. Like, some people will criticize me for being mean on Christianity. No, I'm your best friend compared to this dude. And it actually bothered me, the things that this dude would post against Christianity, against God. Just because it gives me perspective I like, because I imagine some of my posts might do that to Christians, and I try to avoid that. I try to be a little bit more gentle and kind about it. But I didn't unfriend him, and I didn't block him or anything, because I still valued his opinion. It was that listening, even when I didn't want to hear it, even when I didn't want anything to do with it. It was that listening, and I started watching things like the Atheist Experience, and other atheist Christian debates. Still a Christian, and a theist later on down the line, so that I could hear the opposition. And more and more and more and more and more, the opposition started making more sense. And my religion, and all the religions and gods and whatnot, because especially when you zoom out, that's my biggest piece of advice for anyone who's defending the Bible and Christianity: zoom out, because people love to, like, for example, the story of Noah's Ark. 8 people: Noah, his wife, 3 sons, three sons' wives. I mentioned in a video once how God commanded them to commit incest to repopulate the earth. And someone's like, hey, no, Moses had, or sorry, I always get those two mixed up. Noah had his wife, and I think they were done making babies anyway. They didn't have any more kids, but I think they were done making more babies. But then his 3 sons had 3 daughters, or 3, always getting my thoughts mixed up, 3 wives. So, like, everyone has a partner, everyone has a pair, there's no incest. It's like, okay, zoom out. Because what happens when those kids of Noah have kids? Who are they going to have kids with? Their options are siblings, cousins, aunts, and uncles. That's incest, and it just keeps getting worse the more you do. So zoom out. And people like to say, well, you're taking that Bible verse out of context. See, if you read the next verse, if you read the entire Bible, that's the context. It doesn't matter if the next verse says something nicer. That's not the context of the text. The context is the entire text. So I would say zoom out and understand that Christianity is not the only religion making the claims that it's making. It is not the only religion that people are dedicating their lives for, giving their lives for. It's not the only one with a book, with a history, with a God, with faith, anything like that. There's plenty. And there's also a lot of different denominations of Christianity, which is a whole different mess. Just all of this, just more and more and more got me thinking, but I still wasn't quite ready to let go. Because I often describe, I actually have a cat sitting next to me. Peanut. Someone has to see the cat. Always see the cat. Because the cats give views. Everyone loves the cats. Hi. You want to say hi to the people? You want to say hi to the people? You want to say hi to the people? But I wasn't quite ready to let go. So I often describe deconstructing, letting go of God, as a tick. Removing a tick. When you have a tick in you, it's not advised to just take tweezers and rip the tick out. because you could do some more damage to the skin, the head or the pinch was get stuck. My parents tried to pull a tick out of me once, and the head got stuck, and I had to go get it removed. It was not the most fun. The best thing to do is to apply a cotton ball with, I think, nail polish remover, and apply that to the tick until it comes out on its own, and then you can just take it off you. It's not biting you because it just causes less harm. When it comes to deconstructing, when it comes to letting go of the idea of a god or anything like that, you gotta let that belief come out on its own. Don't try to force it because your mind might not be ready to let that go. And my mind wasn't. And I tried to force it out because for the longest time, it's just looking at this stuff, and the more I studied, is religion and theisms wasn't it. Supernatural stuff just wasn't it. But I had it so ingrained in my mind, and I had such a close personal relationship with this God. I thought, surely, there's no way this God's just not real. After all these years, all we've been through, all this God's helped me with, there's no chance that this God's just not real. There's just no chance. There's just a lot of threads still attached. And so there was a while, there's a period of probably like 6 months, maybe even a year, where I was just in this kind of limbo of kind of being an atheist, but just not ready to let go of that. Just like if I logicked my way through it, if I thought through it, I'm an atheist. I don't believe in this stuff, but I do because it is, it's just wired through my brain. I have a whole life of experiences, or a whole, 20 plus years of experiences. It had to be. It has to be real. And I remember the final little straw that broke the camel's back, that last thread, that last stepping stone that got me from theism to atheism, was I made a post, still on personal Facebook. I didn't make any posts publicly on social media's public platforms until I was already an atheist. I made a post on my Facebook commenting, my head says atheism, but my gut says theism. Yeah, my gut, my heart said theism. I made a post making commentary on the Santa Claus TV show that came out a few years ago, where it was a couple of years ago actually, where the kids spelled out with signs, we love Satan, or thank you Satan, or we love you Satan, or something like that. And the joke was that like the last N and A got switched, so instead of Santa, it's Satan. And they quickly, fixed it. Like, oh, it was just one of those like funny oh crap moments. Like the kids spelled out something terrible, and then they fixed it. And that was the joke. That was it. A lot of people got upset. And they're like, they're not even trying to hide it. They're putting, Satan just right in front of us. The devil. The new Hocus Pocus movie came out, and it's gonna let demons into your house. They just went into it. They didn't like it. So I made a post commenting on that, and I said, first off, Satan's not real. Second off, and I just went into spiel, and then I got to looking at the Satan's not real thing, because I don't think I did believe it, and that may have been my head saying it, not maybe my heart or my gut. But I thought maybe I should amend it to probably not real, because like I don't know, but like probably, which I wouldn't even use the word probably these days, because probability and possibility also are claims that need to be backed up. But at the time, I'm like, we'll say he's probably not real, but we'll say he's probably not real, just like Cthulhu is probably not real, just like the flying spaghetti monster is probably not real, just like vaccines probably don't cause autism, just like the world probably isn't flat. And I just went down this line. It's just like unicorns probably aren't real, just all this stuff. And finally, I got down to the list, and I'm like, just like God probably isn't real. And for some reason, that was the stepping stone. For some reason, That, a couple days later, I could officially call myself an atheist. For some reason, that was the stepping stone. Don't ask me why. And it was after a long, couple years of being a theist and 6 to 12 months of being like on the fence atheist. For some reason, that's the thing that really got me to think and really accept it. So then, sometime after that, I started posting on TikTok. Uh, Honestly, just trying to see if I could make it. Honestly, full disclosure, just trying to see if I can make it. And I tried a few different things. If you scroll down to the bottom of my TikTok, tried a few different things of like, what will get views, what will get views. And nothing was really working. And then I posted about mental health because I love talking about mental health. I have anxiety, depression, trauma, had a history of suicidal thoughts, uh, ADHD sprinkled in there just to add a little extra spice. Mental health is kind of a big thing for me, and it got quite a bit of views. So I was like, oh, okay, cool. It's something that I'm passionate about. I can talk about, and it'll get me more views. Two birds with one stone. Love it. Uh, and naturally, with mental health, also came religion, and religion's part in it. And so I made a post about religion, and that got even more views. So I'm just like, I love talking about religion. Because also, throughout this time, I've still been posting on Facebook. First defending Catholicism, then defending non-denominational Christianity, attacking Catholicism and some of the other denominations, then defending my God that I made or made up or stole or whatever, attacking Christianity, and then finally just speaking out against the idea of gods and whatnot um, in general. Uh, all this time, I had been making these posts. Now, I was raised Catholic, so 99.99% of the people in my life, friends and family, minus maybe a couple, I don't even know if I could name a couple, at least when I was younger, but most of them were also Catholic. And we're still Catholic. Now, speaking out against religion and Christianity and God and all that stuff did help me get a nice little community of people that I grew up with, people I went to school with and whatnot, that were in the same boat as me. And it was kind of like a beacon. And, we huddled up, just like, oh, it was just a lot of people like, oh, we're not the only ones questioning this stuff. And it was great. And it was great. But a lot of people got upset. I lost friends over this. I don't really talk to some of my family members anymore because of this, because I'm just getting on Facebook, a more or less peaceful platform. It's not like this where everyone's spouting whatever. It's like this is your friends and family. It's usually relatively tame, usually, at least mine was. And I'm just getting on here just bashing Christianity and God and whatnot. Made a lot of people upset, and I got tired of losing people. But I am so passionate about religion. Back when I was defending it, back now I'm speaking, I've always been passionate about religion. Need an outlet. Now, I make a post on TikTok about religion, and it gets reactions. It gets a good reaction. I'm like, oh, uh, that's interesting. So I stopped posting so much on my personal Facebook and more on public platforms, and then I started also posting on YouTube and Instagram, and then Threads when it came out. And those are where I post. I also have a Patreon that I post some behind the scenes stuff or extra stuff here and there. There's nothing behind the paywall on it. It's all for free stuff. Just kind of like extra stuff that isn't anything. And that encouraged me to dive more into my studies, because now I'm in the public eye. I'm not getting like millions of views or anything, but like I'm engaging with the general public. So now I should probably really take this seriously. And that was what I mentioned earlier. This is the deeper dive. Really deep, really reading other religious scripture, really studying the different arguments, really, getting more deep into this. And I'll admit, I was still pretty freshly an atheist, still feeling kind of the pain um, of not having this friend, if I could even call it that. This God, this being looking out for me, still, kind of healing from that. And so I'm going to be completely honest. I'm going to be completely honest with you. When I first started really speaking out against Christianity and theism on my platforms, I kind of expected and hoped that I would just get bombarded by the absolute best arguments for the existence of a God, and that I would just it would just be a situation where, like, Drew, you have no idea what you're talking about, and they would be right, and uh, I would just be blown out of the water, and then there we go. Uh, God's real, and I can go back to it. That didn't happen. The more I dove in, and the more I listened to other people, commenters, other people online, apologists, uh, read different scriptures, the more solidified I became in atheism, and that flame of hope just started dying out into an ember and into I don't even know what's left anymore of it. I've really just, because I've mentioned many times, I would like if I had my God, if my God was real, an actual good loving being was real, and I would love if there was an afterlife. I would love if there was this spiritual energy, spirit, stuff like that. I was all about growing up. So I would love if all that was real, and I would love to be proven wrong in some of the stuff that I say on these platforms, but it hasn't happened yet. So here I am, just 2 years later, and just more and more and more solidified in my disbelief and in my reasoning for not believing. That's about where I'm at right now, honestly. Um, that's about it. I mean, I'm trying to think if there's anything else. I'm surprised I was able to. I brought that all off the top of my head. I thought, like, maybe I should make notes, like bullet points to, like, help me. But I'm like, no, I improvise everything. But I think I pretty much got the general story of my deconstruction. And then, of course, over time, I overcame certain things of, like, um, just automatic responses. If I do something wrong, just apologizing to God. You don't believe in God anymore, so who are you apologizing to? Um, not being so scared of, like, the number 6 or whatever. Not being so anal and hyper focused and obsessed about avoiding demons or anything. Um, Even after I left Christianity, even after I became an atheist, still deconstructing some of that, and I'm not done. I don't really know. I don't know if deconstructing is a is a done thing. If I'm gonna be honest with you, um, I don't know if it's a thing that you can be done. You just keep peeling back layers that you didn't even know were there until you peel them back. Um, and I'm still here, and I am much happier and calmer and just at peace now that I am an atheist. It also probably helps that I've grown up and moved away from the other situations that were actually causing trauma, gotten away from those. So that definitely helps. So, yeah, that's kind of where it is. Just kind of where it is. I can go into my coming out story as well, because that also does go hand in hand. I won't spend as much time. I won't spend another 40 minutes on that, 45 minutes on that. Um, but I, growing up, part of the trauma, I'm non-binary. Means gender-wise, I don't associate with male or female. Just not really a manly man. Uh, so all growing up, especially being raised Catholic Christian, you're supposed to be a manly man, and I just wasn't, and that caused a lot of trauma and pain. It was just like, why can't I just be, this thing that I'm not, because I'm not, you know. So I had that going for me, and then same-sex attraction. Same-sex attraction can happen at a young age before it becomes adult stuff. Uh, Little kids have, crushes, little girlfriends, little boyfriends, all that stuff. So that attraction still happens at a young age. And I remember preschool, kindergarten Drew having some little crushes on boys and girls. Of course, I suppressed it because I was told, well, it was started out, I was given, mom and dad. Mom and dad. That's how it's supposed to be. Mom and dad. Uh, and then as I got older, they got a little bit more into it until, like, literally when I was like in 8th grade, they were saying, any same-sex attraction is Satan whispering in your ear trying to tear you away from God. That's fine. That's not intimidating or scary at all or anything like that. So I didn't even come out to myself until my early 20s. Because I still, anytime I had like same-sex attraction or anything, I would stop and try to push Satan out of my head. I thought I was being attacked by the devil. Turns out it was just a natural thing that happens. And there's not much to it. And accepting that part of me. And accepting, because that was just another layer of you're not good enough, there's something wrong with you that I had all growing up. So letting go of that was great. Coming out, accepting myself for who I am was great. Yeah. And overall, just happier, better person. Especially when you take away, when someone's less stressed, they tend to be more pleasant to be around. So there is that. But yeah, I think that's all I got. And you guys have been lighting me up in the chat, and I've been ignoring you because I've been trying to focus on giving a thing. So do any of you have questions? Some of you, I'm going to be honest, I've kind of like glimpsed. Some of you might just get muted as soon as you open your mouths again. I'm going to be completely honest with you. Yeah. Well, any questions? Yeah. You have anything? What's it from South Florida? Hi. What's it from Kansas? Greatest food of all time. I'm a pasta person. I love pasta. And yes, I am. Some people are like, "Oh, he's not even live." I am live. Bro's on the edge of a mental breakdown all my life. Well, no, you're not gonna get muted for that. It's true. My whole life's been a mental breakdown. Yes, I am actually live. Hi. I'll speak to you now. I wanted to get the story. It took me 45 minutes to get through the story without distraction. You wanted me to do it with distraction? Ignore the haters, always. Just confirmed what on accident. Let's break down together. Let's do it. Why the hell would you bother would your damn story to 19 people? I mean, first off, there was only 19 towards the end. Most of that was like 5 to 10, so. ADHD kicking strong, always. Always. No, you're sorry. I'm sorry. I was picking on you. I'm sorry. Don't worry about your typo. And the answer is because there's 19 people. This is more views than I usually get in a live. I'm at 15 likes right now. Most of the lives that I've posted and let like get more views haven't even gotten this many likes. So like, yeah, I'm a small content creator. Stream will be uploaded later too. Yeah, it's been fluctuating the whole time. But yeah, I'm not looking for the big audiences because I just don't have the big audiences, plain and simple. But there are a few people, even a few, who like to hear what I have to say and who keep, for some reason, Uh, Doomakarn in the chat here is one of them. I was making fun of him in a previous live because he's weird because he's been following me for a while now and hasn't left for some reason. Because some people actually like my content enough to stick around. It's really weird. Um, Thank you, my love. Thank you, Taylor. Um, but I do. There are some people, and I have gotten some direct messages and comments saying, well, a lot of people saying mean stuff, but every now and then you get people saying, thank you, your stuff's really helped me. So even if it's just a few people, plus we all have to start somewhere, you know. I why should I wait until I have 10,000 subscribers, which I'm probably never gonna hit, before I start taking this seriously? Why can't I just like take it seriously? Why can't I just like, and not even serious, but like, just do it. There doesn't need to be any holding back just because I don't have a whole lot of views. Put yourself out there. Either the views will come or they won't. I enjoy doing this. I enjoy making this content and talking about this stuff. It's like I said, it's been a hobby of mine my entire life, basically. Very passionate about religion, even when I was defending it. So, yeah. Bro is a yapper all day, every day. All day, every day. Why are people so mean to you? I'm just tuning in for the first time. What do you usually talk about? I usually speak out against Christianity and other religions and the belief in a God. It tends to get people a little upset. Um, tends to get people a little angry. I am not a Christian. It's a good outlet when the world's on fire. It can be. It's nice to just find a hobby. Find something that makes you happy, People aren't usually aren't this mean to my knowledge. I've had a couple lives where I've gotten bullied pretty hard. Um, and certain platforms like Instagram, if you go over there, I don't respond to commenters on Instagram anymore. I don't respond to commenters too much at all nowadays to any of the platforms, just because I'll get into a discussion and then that's my day. That's my entire night. And I work 40 plus hours a week running a department at a local supermarket, and I come home and I'm a husband and a father. I do not have the time or the mental capacity or just the desire to debate with someone in a comment section or anything like that. So I don't usually don't comment too much anyway, but especially Instagram, proof that hell exists. Yeah, especially on Instagram. Instagram is where the children of ignorance and arrogance go to frolic. It's the people who don't appear to know everything but have all of the confidence of a scholar. It's an admirable level of confidence. But yeah, if you go over to my Instagram, that's where I get me. YouTube's usually pretty tame, honestly. Um, and a lot of my other two platforms usually are too, but Instagram. I sometimes get there are times where I'll get hundreds of comments on Instagram a day, and a lot of them are mean and angry, and a lot of them are people talking to each other. They're not all directly towards me, but it's kind of what you're not gonna sit up here and speak out against something that people are so passionate about and that people love without getting a little bit of pushback, without getting a little bit of um, something. I do always have you in my corner. That Taylor Skaggs is my wife, by the way. Toast is protecting us from his demons, maybe. Pushback, yes, is a word, absolutely. What you speak out against religion? Was there a certain moment where you decided to turn away from religion and sort of deconstruct it? I spent the last 55 minutes talking about that. But yes, is the short answer. And I just think religion is um, just harmful. And the beliefs in gods and supernatural can also be harmful. For first starters, what the first Bible book to read? That's a great question. Um, if you're reading it for the first time, I would not recommend the King James. It's a crowd favorite among Christians, at least in the US, but it's written in like Shakespearean uh, language, so it's very hard. I'm an English major, so I kind of have a little bit, I can understand a little bit better, but it's not fun. Read like the English Standard Version or the New American Bible, or I have been reading the New Revised Standard Version. And it is a study Bible as well. But the New Revised Standard Version has plain English. And after dragging myself through some of the complicated language in some of the other Bibles, this is dopamine in my brain to read. The language, the clarity is beautiful. So New Revised Standard Version, I think, would be a great one to go to. It's not going to be the one that a lot of people are going to go to. A lot of Christians are going to stick to, the New American or the King James, but it's a good one. You believe spirituality can be beautiful? It does seem to go too far for some. I believe it absolutely can be beautiful, and it can be used for good things. I used my spirituality and my faith to not end my life a number of times throughout my childhood. So, yeah, it absolutely can be good and beautiful, but it does get a little messy. And it can go too far. That cat wants attention. I actually don't have... No, Peanut's over there. She's still over there. With that, I'm at about an hour, so that might be it. I think I might just go ahead and leave you with that. So thank you for tuning in. This is, I think, the biggest live stream I've done. This is the most active live stream. Maybe I just need to ramble and ignore the chat for like 45 minutes in all of my live streams, because apparently that did great. I have more views and significantly more likes than usual. So fuck you, chat. I don't need to talk to you. I'll just ramble for 45 minutes. Yeah, and this will be up on my channel later if anyone wants to watch back or whatever. But yeah, bro has 20 likes. That's the most I've ever gotten by the end of a live stream. I don't even know if my other live streams that have been up for like a month have that many likes. So that's pretty cool for me, honestly. I usually do these live streams every Tuesday. I need to go to bed. Usually every Tuesday, starting at about 9:30. It's whenever I put my daughter to bed. So it is what it is. So usually 9:30 Central Standard Time. So maybe I'll see you then. And thank you all for joining and supporting me. I greatly appreciate it. Bye.